Thank you for your interest in the NetApp Lanamark Host Performance Assessment Service. This service is available to select NetApp partners. Your NetApp Technical Partner Manager can investigate whether or not you have access to this tool. This tool is designed to characterize the host performance capabilities of your customer's environment. To access the tool, go to lanamark.netapp.com. Use your NetApp single sign-on credentials to connect. The first time you connect to lanamark.netapp.com, you'll be asked to accept the end-user license agreement. You will then arrive on the Engagements tab. This tab contains any engagements that you've created. The New Engagement button allows the creation of new engagements. The most recent engagements are displayed across the top row of this tab. Below are listed all of the engagements based on the filter criterion that are supplied in the top control bar. You can list just your engagements or all of the engagements to which you have access. Both active engagements and archived engagements can be viewed. Engagements can also be searched using the search box. The number of entries shown can be changed using the drop-down at the bottom of the table. Selecting an engagement from the listing is the same as clicking an engagement in the tile above. Let's create a new engagement. Simply click the New Engagement button and complete the fields in the pop-up window. We're going to use a fictional company name of XYZ Company. Additional information about the engagement can be entered in the Engagement Description field. This field is displayed in the resulting assessment document, so you'll want to make sure that you use a client-friendly description here. In our fictional company, we are examining the VMware environment, so we'll use that in the description. Supply a valid NetApp opportunity number in the opportunity number field. Enter a NetApp sponsor in the NetApp sponsor field. This is simply the email address of a systems engineer at NetApp who has access to the Lanamark tool. In the Client Representative tab, enter the contact information for the customer contact who will be performing the engagement. In our fictional organization, we'll have Bob Smith as our customer contact. The email address supplied here is the email address that will receive the information about how to download and install the NetApp Lanamark Host Performance Assessment Service tools like the NetApp Lanamark Explorer. Optionally, you can enter the customer's phone number. Then simply click Create Engagement. We see the new engagement has been added to the list of tiles in the top row, and we see our icon and the icon for the NetApp sponsor directly below the engagement. We also see the engagement with XYZ Company listed in the table below. The NetApp contact specified will receive an email indicating that they have been added to an engagement. That sponsor will be able to view the engagement in the portal as well. As we look in the table, we can see the status of the engagement. So we see our XYZ Company engagement was created today. We also see the last activity that occurred with the engagement under the activity column. We also see the state of the engagement. In this particular case, the data collector has not yet been downloaded. Once the engagement has been downloaded, the state will change, so you will be aware that your customer has downloaded the tools to successfully profile the host performance characteristics of their environment. Once the end user correctly configures the tool and the tool starts to transmit data, you will get additional information in the data feeds. If we click on this XYZ Company engagement, you will see that. On the Activity tab, you'll see the play-by-play activities that have occurred for this specific engagement, from the creation to the sponsor joining to the email being sent to the end user customer. This activity stream will show additional information around the engagement. As mentioned, you will learn when customer information has been uploaded to the NetApp Lanamark portal. Once the NetApp Lanamark Explorer is installed in the customer environment, data feeds will appear here, indicating the number of hosts that are being profiled. Additional tabs will appear as data gets uploaded and processed. We'll show you those tabs in another sample engagement. To return to the list of engagements, simply click the Engagements tab at the top of the screen. To change the details of an engagement, simply open that engagement and click on the Edit button. This will allow you to change the description and any other parameters around the engagement. If your customer misses the email, you can simply resend the instructions using the Resend Instructions button. You can also select the Download Collector link or the Data Collection Guide link to provide that information to your customer via email or via separate download. Keep in mind that this data collector is custom built for XYZ Company, so it has the customer-specific information embedded into the installer. Please review the NetApp Lanamark Explorer video for examples of the customer perspective of installing the NetApp Lanamark Explorer. Now let's take a look at some existing engagements. This is a view from the NetApp System Engineer perspective. In this example, you'll see quite a bit of activity in the stream for each set of data that was uploaded to the NetApp Lanamark service. The Data Feeds tab is populated with the system names that are being profiled. Each of the servers that are providing information to the NetApp Lanamark Explorer are listed in this screen. The Summary tab shows graphical representations of the performance that was observed during the collection intervals. It also provides access to the Summary report and the export to NetApp's System Performance Modeler, or SPM tool. The Details tab provides performance information on a per host basis or per volume basis, depending on how this selector is configured. By selecting volumes, you will see all of the volumes that are being profiled by the Explorer. Let's take a look at the Summary tab in more detail. As we scroll down, we see an IOPS graph, a throughput graph, and a block size graph. We also see a coverage graph. This graph shows what percentage of systems have reported data for each of the time periods in question. As shown here, this solid blue block for this bottom graph indicates that we've received complete information from almost all of the systems in this particular engagement. If we'd like to highlight a portion of any of the graphs, click and drag a section in the lower graph, and you will see the corresponding graphs change and show just the selected range of information. So we're now showing from Thursday to Friday, and we can see the information around those time slices in both the IOPS graphs and the throughput and block size graphs. To restore, click outside of the currently selected window. This is now returning to the entire sample period, as you can see by the timeline along the x-axis of the graphs. The Summary table at the top of the Engagement Summary tab shows information that is useful for sizing a NetApp solution. You can see the information about 95th percentile IOPS, 95th percentile throughput in megabytes per second, and the mixture between reads and writes from an IOPS perspective and from a megabytes per second perspective. Read and write latencies are also displayed. Detail around the IOPS are shown in the IOPS detail column. Additional payload detail is shown in the payload detail column. This provides a breakdown between random writes, random reads, sequential writes, and sequential reads, and it also provides information around the average read and write sizes. The capacity column contains information about the amount of storage that is used free and the total amount of capacity that is observed from the systems that were monitored. Again, this Summary tab is showing summary information across all of the monitored machines. In this case, there were 11 machines monitored. Clicking on the Summary Report button will generate the summary report that is viewable by customers. This is a very useful document to review with customers to allow them to better understand how their systems consume their storage. The output in the report can be ordered by IOPS or by throughput in megabytes per second. This is for the Summary table that you'll see in the actual report. This report is generated dynamically. So when you save and open the report, it is generated with information that is current at that moment. As you can see, the information that was entered into the description fields and company name fields is reflected in this report. The beginning of the report shows a table of contents. It also describes the report that follows, along with the statistics that were captured and their meaning. The report itself contains that summary table that we saw in the Summary tab, with the performance summary, the IOPS detail, the payload detail, and the capacity detail. And it also contains the summary charts that we reviewed: IOPS, megabytes per second throughput, and block size. Finally, we have the key metrics by host table. This is sorted by IOPS as requested when the report was generated. So we see the system that consumes the most IOPS as the top entry in this table. After reviewing this report with your customer, you can confirm that the report accurately reflects your customer's environment. You can then export the workload details to NetApp's System Performance Modeler by clicking the SPM Export button. This button allows you to define how SPM will size the system. You can size based on IOPS or based on throughput in megabytes per second. You can add headroom to the throughput values that were observed. If your customer would like to have 20% additional headroom, simply select 20%. You will see the IOPS information that will be passed to SPM increase accordingly. Also choose the protocol that SPM should use to model the storage solution. If the customer will be running VMware on NFS, for example, then choosing NFS here makes a lot of sense. If the customer is going to run iSCSI on Hyper-V, for example, iSCSI would be a better selection. You can also choose a capacity headroom value. If the customer is expecting 50% growth over the lifetime of the storage system, select 50%. Then click the Export button. A JSON file will be generated and downloaded. This JSON file will then be imported into SPM. You'll need to perform this step manually. We'll show you how. Simply launch SPM and start a new sizing. When you choose a workflow, choose a forward sizing. Then click the Import Workload from Radio button and click Custom App Workloads. Then click Next, Add Workload Details. Click the Choose File button to choose the JSON file that you just downloaded. If successful, you will see the success prompt. Click OK. If this completes the workloads that you will use for this sizing, click Save and Exit Wizard. Click Next, select Platform to continue the sizing process in SPM. Choose the platforms that are relevant for this particular customer and also choose the operational mode that you would like to select. Choose the disk types that you would like to use in the configuration and choose whether you'd like to use flash acceleration. You can accept the defaults if you choose. Click Next, Calculate Sizing to build a configuration. Compatible configurations will be listed in the summary table for sizings under SPM. You can see the controller type, the disk types, the number of disks, as well as SSDs for configurations that leverage flash capability, or flash cache cards for configurations that leverage flash cache cards. The rightmost column lists the rationale behind the sizing. In the first two cases, the number of drives was determined by capacity. This is due to smaller SAS drives being selected. SPM lists the number of drives that are required to meet the performance needs in these last two rows. For this customer, a system with 22 hard disk drives will meet the performance requirements. Similarly, a system with 14 spinning disks and 4 SSDs for acceleration will also meet the performance requirements. The last two solutions will likely be much more cost-effective than SAS solutions. Note that these reports are currently confidential for partner viewing only. Click the Email Report button to email the report to yourself. You can save the report for your records. Click Closed when you're done reviewing the sizing. And that's all there is to it. You've just successfully sized a system using the NetApp Lanamark Host Performance Assessment Service and the NetApp System Performance Modeler tools. We hope that you will use the NetApp Lanamark Host Performance Assessment Service for all of your customer sizing needs. Thank you.